You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundaram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Kays,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry.
Today's guest is Graham Ablett. As a director at Strategic Proposals with nearly 20 years experience in proposals, Graham helps clients to win business in a number of different ways, including winning specific projects and contracts for clients by providing hands-on strategic proposal and presentation support, informal procurement and informal proactive sales scenarios, delivering interim management and consultancy services to help organizations to improve their win rates while increasing the efficiency of their bid and proposal operations, and delivering proposal skills development, coaching, and APMP accreditation training. Graham has supported clients across a wide range of industries, including IT services, professional services, travel, logistics, oil and gas, insurance, roadside services, catering, healthcare, facilities management, real estate, office supplies, telecommunications, and defense markets. Graham holds the highest level of proposal certification, professional. Welcome, Graham, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Bhaskar. Brilliant to be here.
So, Graham, we'd love to start in the beginnings. We're curious, where were you born? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school?
I haven't to cast my mind back, but it was a while ago now. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from the UK. I was born right in the middle of the centre of England. You think of the map and sort of were to pinpoint the middle of that map, right in the centre, kind of the furthest point you can get from the sea. I was born in a town called Loughborough. It's got a really great university, actually, probably one of the best in the UK after the ones that everybody knows, like Oxford and Cambridge. It's I think the fifth best university in the country, and for a town that's quite a good accolade really. But yeah, right in the middle of the UK, all the way back in 1973. Blimey, makes me sound like a veteran. Born in Leicestershire, and then spent much of my life until university in Leicestershire. We moved around a little bit during my childhood, so we moved from Loughborough to a town called, you'll love this, Ashby de la Zouch, which is also in northwest Leicestershire. Really old town, been around for centuries, has a castle, and had lots of ash trees. This is where the Ashby bit comes from, and then was renamed Ashby de la Zouch when the Normans came over from France and brought over a family called the Zouches, and they tagged on de la Zouch on the end of it. So yeah, I've been living in a landlocked part of the world for all of my childhood until I came to London for university, and I've been down in the south since then, really.
Oh, wow. So your first job out of school then was in that area?
Yeah, I think right back to my first job. I had a number of small jobs sort of thing when I was at school. I started a paper round, I remember, to earn a bit of pocket money, delivering the Sunday newspapers with all those supplements. I remember I was on my bike. I remember falling off my bike several times trying to cycle around with this huge, massive bag full of newspapers on my shoulder. In fact, the first time I did it, I fell off my bike and I kind of hobbled home, and then my mum had to drive me around and help me deliver the newspapers to start with, which is hardly a claim to fame. But I suppose if I was being honest, that was my first job. I seem to remember getting paid a huge £1.50 or something ridiculous for each Sunday morning paper round. But then I went on, like a lot of people. I kept going back there in the summer holidays when I was in university, and had a series of really, on paper, uninteresting and boring kind of summer jobs, but actually kind of taught me quite a bit. Some of them. I remember working in a soap factory one summer in Ashby-de-la-Zouch, and literally on the production line during the summer, creating gift packs for Christmas. And it gave me kind of quite an interesting perspective on how kind of manufacturing and factories work, which was good. I worked in a bin making factory, so like plastic molding bins, 12-hour shifts. So that was quite hard work. But you know, these things, you always find how to have a bit of fun and pass the time. So they were really my first kind of money earning jobs during my sort of schooling, and earning a bit of extra pocket money, and supposedly collecting money to help get myself through university. But I suppose it's typical of me. I quite enjoy having some fun and having a good laugh, and I think I probably, much to my parents' disheartenment, kind of spending a good bit of the money I was earning having fun while saving money in the holidays. But you know, typical kind of studenty sort of things, really. First proper job, though, I suppose, was when I left university, and I got a job working for a large French conglomerate, a division of a company called Bouygues, who are still going strong today. Big company, wide range of different sectors that they work in, from telco to media, construction, etc., etc. And I got a role with them on a graduate scheme based in the south of the country. I was based in a place called Frimley Green, which is a nice town in Surrey. If you think of where London is, just sort of southwest of London by about 20 miles, 30 miles, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was on a graduate scheme where they did a lot of different things, this company. And one of my first jobs was first proper job was working in a depot, where they were delivering some services that were outsourced from the council. It was there I kind of started to understand a bit about how contracts are won and lost, and things like TUPE and transfer of undertakings and things like that, how that worked. And that sort of sparked my interest in this sort of winning contracts kind of world. And from there, I got an opportunity to go up to the head office just up the road and work in a business development team. And that's where sort of my bidding and tendering and proposal life started, really. So kind of like most people, wasn't something that I always planned to get into. You rather sort of stumble into proposals. In fact, when I was at university, I did civil engineering with business studies. And I can't really remember at any point in time during studying the business studies aspects of things any mention really of how businesses won and lost, and the proposals and the importance of that in how business works. So I kind of stumbled into it, but you know, soon found that was a brilliant thing to do, really interesting and engaging activity to be involved with. And I kind of, you know, my passion for proposals, I guess, started at that really early stage of my career.
Wow. Yeah. It sounds like you found proposals quite early in your career. Did you go on to other organizations to do similar things in business development and proposals?
Yeah, I did. I probably spent maybe 5 or 6 years there, kind of learning some of the basics, and learning some of the things like what the OJU process is, which is the sort of European procurement rules. If you're buying something in the public sector, everything has to go through there. And other three-letter acronyms, which I know we hate, but things like EOI, expression of interest, PQQ, pre-qualification questionnaire, and ITT and RFP, of course. So I learned my basics there. But to be honest, I always craved for getting into sort of slightly faster moving industries. And one of my really good friends, who I was sharing a flat with in London at the time, Karim Bashir, he had got himself a good job working in IT, working for a company called Computer Centre, who based in the UK but have offices and have grown, across Europe over the years. They might even have business in the States now. But it was a really vibrant. I was really jealous because he seemed to have a lot more fun, a lot more was happening, a lot sort of quicker. So I got an opportunity to go for a job there, working in public sector bidding at Computer Centre's head office. And as soon as I got an opportunity to try and get in there, Karim helped me have an interview and get through that process and start my career in IT, which is where I stayed for a good while. So blimey, when was that? That was right the way back in 99, probably, something like that. I got into Computer Centre and had a really good sort of 4 years there, where I looked after all of the bidding in public sector. Had some great wins, learned a lot about technology, the IT world, a lot more about public sector bidding as well. Some of the big frameworks. I was pretty much working on my own there. So when you don't, I didn't get much training, so it was much kind of learn on the job. And I recall days back then where I would be printing off the documents myself down in the reprographics room. Like, I got to know the guy down there quite well, and I had the keys for the room and could go in there, could work the machinery and get it all done, and printing stuff out, right into the night, sometimes through the night on occasion, and then getting in the car and driving and then delivering the things. All the things that nowadays I would say, well, you shouldn't be doing that you should be planning to avoid all of that. But at the time, it was almost unavoidable, it felt like. So had some great years at Computer Centre, fantastic company. And, I still do work with some of the people that I met there and worked with. Some fantastic sales people there, some great leaders and managers there I had the pleasure of working with for those few years. But I love the technology side of things, but after a while, I fancied a bit of a change, and then I got the chance to go and work for Dell Computers, who everybody will know. So back in, I think, around 2003-ish, I moved from Computer Centre to Dell as a role as head of proposals. So a small team within a slightly bigger team called Opportunity Management, which had bid managers and proposal managers, and I kind of looked after and kind of built the proposal management team there. So that's where I got my first shot at trying to learn how to manage people and manage a team of bid and proposal people. And eventually I got the job as head of the overall team after a while as well. And that was my step before joining Strategic Proposals in 2006. So I sort of jumped from this sort of utilities based industry into technology, and then kind of fast forwarded through a few companies and got to being head of the kind of bid and proposal team at Dell, and then joined SP. So that's me talking a lot, but I'm just trying to thinking back to all the things and companies I've worked for over the years.
Yeah, no, it sounds like an amazing journey that you've had. Probably since joining Strategic Proposals, you've had the opportunity to do proposals and bids in other industries and different sectors. So can you share with us your personal approach to how you apply yourself to the varied sectors?
Yeah, I mean, probably like most people who've moved around industries, there are quite a lot of core things, characteristics of a bid, particularly when it's formal, responding to an RFP or tender, but they are fairly similar in many ways. The process and that you have to go through, which will always lead you, which is kind of helps when you flip between industries. And then there's some core things that I think I always try and understand and try and help get to when you're working on a bid. And I suppose the first thing is making sure you've got the right people involved, whatever the industry is, to help you write the very best proposal that you can. So I think making sure you've got the best people around you, whether that's the people you work with or the people that are coming from my clients these days. You've got the best people there who know the customer and know their subject matter expertise to bring that to the table. So that's fundamental to my approach of putting together proposals, and then getting some of the basics right. As with everything, if you don't get the basics right, the foundations right, you're on a bit of a hiding for nothing. So making sure we do understand the customer, of course, to start with, and what they're trying to achieve, and then that we're converting that knowledge with the capabilities of the bidding organisation, combining those two things together and knitting together a story which shows the customer how you can help them. And that needs to be a really simple story that people can articulate to people who don't know anything about the bid. If you can't explain in 30 seconds or a minute, what you're offering to the customer and why and what they're getting to get out of it, then I think you've got you're probably going to write a very complicated proposal that's not very joined up. So that would be the thing that I really try and make sure I understand and everybody agrees upon with any bid in any sector, is that we've got that kind of core story to tell. Once you've got that and everybody knows that, there's some messaging around that which flows out of it, and then there's the logistics of it, making sure you're getting organized, you've got all the bases covered, and that comes with experience and knowledge, the learning from your mistakes and how to correct things on the next bid, but just basically making sure you've got all the things covered, all the work has been allocated out correctly. It's really clear what people need to do by when, and you get all the logistics and the time and the planning correct. If you get all those things right from the outset, everything from that point, I think, becomes easier to control and to manage. So in my experience, you get those things right, you've got a better chance of succeeding and probably then not working into the small hours right at the end, hole punching a document in a reprographics room somewhere, which I've done several times. So yeah, that's the sort of approach I try to bring. I suppose there's a style thing to it as well. I've learned over the years in doing what we do that you don't really have any clout with the people that you're working with on a bid, and in many occasions people would be more senior than you, certainly be paid more than you. The important thing for me is having the understanding that people aren't necessarily going to do what you tell them to do when you need them to do it, and many of those reasons are because they might be struggling to do it, and secondly, they don't really understand the task at hand, and thirdly, maybe they've got more important things to do. So that makes it quite a difficult job to do. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have fun in what you're doing. It's very serious what we're doing, but we need to have fun and build rapport with people, and hopefully make it an enjoyable experience for people. Make it interesting. The more interesting we can make it, the more thought we can get people to put into it, the better the proposal is going to be at the end of the day. So I think I try as much as I can to create an environment where it is fun. People do share ideas. There's a lot of creativity goes into it. We fire ideas around and make the experience of putting the bid together, as well as getting the basics and the logistics right, all that sort of stuff. Make it a good, positive experience. I think that goes a long way in making sure you get a good output with the proposal as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So since joining Strategic Proposals, you have also trained hundreds of people. Can you share some of your training experiences, maybe some memorable efforts?
A company I worked with, who are based up in the northeast of the country, went up there for a couple of days to train some of their team, the bid team, and they had a very kind of reactive approach to doing bidding, and I really felt like by sharing some stories and some ideas and talking about some of the challenges that they face and how they could maybe get around some of those challenges, because there were things that I'd faced in the past. I like to think that their eyes were opened a little bit to the art of the possible with putting the proposal together. And I know for a fact that we did a few other little projects for them as well, but the training part of what we delivered really helped them to improve the quality of their proposals, and their win rate went up immediately over the next quarter just by their eyes being sort of opened up slightly, and maybe their eyes getting a bit brighter at the thought of working on their next proposal. That was lots of formal proposals. I think if I think of another client of mine where we did some training for them, it was more around the proactive sort of proposals, and helping a sales team to go and chase opportunities with their clients, armed with some nice proposal templates, which we took them through in the training. But then we talked about, the secret of making it really customer focused, understanding the customer, and then replaying that back in the proposal. And they weren't really quite seeing the importance of that. They might understand the customer and be having the conversations, but then their proposals would be quite dull and boring and generic. And I remember they just had an incredible. The sales manager called me the quarter after we'd done the training and released the template, and just said we actually did a third less proposal this quarter, so we saved time across the team, but we won double the amount of business than we were. So we were doing less but winning more, because we were understanding, if we can't write a great proposal, it's because we don't understand the customer. So let's not waste our time. Let's tell the customer we need to understand them a bit more and have another conversation. But then when we do understand the customer, we can tailor the proposal to them, make it specific. And it was like the light going on for those guys. So I really enjoyed those training experiences, because you could see that they understood it a lot more, but also getting a tangible benefits off the back of it as well, which is ultimately then shows a good return on the investment in training. So two very different but really interesting cases there.
Can you tell us 3 things that not many people know about you?
I could probably tell you a lot more. 3 things, but three things. Well, one thing. I mean, it is on my kind of profile, but something that I'm really, really proud of is I used to do a lot of fencing when I was younger, and I don't mean putting fences up around my garden. I mean the noble art of fencing, the sport of fencing. And that was one of my huge passions. I mean, I'm passionate about my work and proposals, very passionate about fencing and passionate about my family. But yeah, the one thing I suppose people don't know about me all the time is that I won a gold medal at the Commonwealth fencing championships. It's a lot in Kuala Lumpur back in 1998.
Oh, wow.
Which was really fantastic. It was it's the one thing that people would recognise, the Commonwealth. Being from the UK anyway, particularly, you'd know what the Commonwealth Games was, and to win a medal in that was fantastic, and kind of is the showpiece thing for me about my kind of fencing, and I'd call it a fencing career, because I started when I was a kid, when I was about 10, and I went through till I was in my early 30s. But that's probably the kind of the sort of pinnacle thing. But during that time, I won the nationals, was British champion six times, 3 times as an individual, and 3 times in teams.
Oh, wow.
So I'm equally proud of those things. It's just that the Commonwealth sounds better and probably is a little bit better known outside of just a national sort of championship. So my fencing my fencing career is something I'm proud of, but I feel a bit embarrassed talking about it now, but I don't really shout about it that much at all. So that's kind of one thing that I'm proud of, and I don't tell people about too much. I guess the other thing that I don't really tell people about, which I think is really interesting and really important to me, is thinking of the family. I'm married with 3 kids. We live in Twickenham in London. Kind of actually links to one of my other passions, which is sport and rugby, because Twickenham is the kind of heart of rugby. But that's a different story. But my family, I come from a relatively small family. There's me and my sister, and probably normal size, we say average sort of size family. But I've married into a family where my wife Hilary is the youngest of 10 siblings. So I've actually got this huge family, brilliant family, but I really love and respect that I'm now feel part of, and now my kids are part of. My youngest daughter is the 35th grandchild in the family, the youngest. So I mean, it's crazy. I mean, imagine my wedding. We've got our small family on one side of the church, and then we've got just immediate family is about 90 people on the side of the church. So I've got this sort of adopted massive Irish family, which are a sort of key part of my life, and not a lot of people know that.
I'm curious to dig into your journey with strategic proposals a little bit more. Over the years, how has your role evolved within the organization?
Well, I was really lucky that I joined Strategic Proposals just as we became Strategic Proposals Limited, back in the sort of around 2005, 2006 time. So I joined when we were part of a procurement consultancy called PMMS, a really successful procurement consultancy, and that kind of understanding and knowledge was quite a bit of the secret sauce about strategic proposals. But as I joined, we were just getting to a point where John Williams and Richard Jenkins were driving that sort of practice within PMMS forward, and it was really growing quickly, and it was successful, and there becomes a point where there starts to be some conflicts of interest. Of course, you can't be advising the buyer and the seller at the same time. So it just was the time where we became strategic proposals on our own. So I was there from the start of setting up that limited company, which was brilliant. I hadn't done that before, and John and Richard were a bit more senior than me, and a bit more knowledgeable about business, and kind of led all of that. But it was brilliant to be involved right from the outset and be a director of the business at that point. So there's literally the three of us, sitting around a table planning what we're going to do next, which was really, really exciting. And then, so over the years, my role has changed quite a lot. We've gone from the 3 people to, something like 25 people now in the UK business.
Yeah.
Everybody's a self-starter and, real experienced proposal professional and specialist, so they don't need coaching and managing and all of that. Everybody is good enough to get on and do a fantastic job themselves. So it's not like I've become a manager and stepped away from doing what I love doing, which is proposals. But you do, my time now is spent, doing a bit of guiding, advising those people, working with them more on deals and projects. So to start with, me and John and Richard would go off and be doing our own kind of one-man band bits of work with our clients and trying to build the business like that and winning new clients together. But then delivering the work, we'd always do it for the most part individually. But of course now with the 25 people, we can draw on the specialists within the team, and I might even have some of the same customers I had back then when we started. But sometimes we can have 10 people from the team working on one of our projects. So that's a completely different feel to just me being responsible for doing something, to be able to bring in expert writers, designers, graphic illustrators, editors, reviewers, have all those skills in my back pocket to bring to my clients. Needs a bit more thought and planning and preparation, but the value I think we can offer because of that is huge. So that's probably one of the biggest changes, this kind of growth and change in our structure. So yeah, I think that's probably kind of been one of the biggest changes in my role. And then we as you would imagine, we tend to start to have preferences and specialize in certain areas. So the last few years, I've been really keen to drive some of the research that we've been doing. So interviewing procurement people, purchasers, and finding out the latest trends, which enabled us to release a kind of white paper on trends in the industry, based on some research that John had done a few years before. So it was really interesting to look back at some of the differences and what buyers were saying were important. And I just loved being able to do that. I would have never been able to do that when it was just the 3 of us doing the work, because I would have been too busy. But now I could find a little bit of time to do some of that, I think, high value stuff, which is really insightful things that we share with our clients. So kind of being having a bit more of a role to help continue to develop our research and white papers now is something that I still love doing. We've even got somebody now to help us push that area forward. We've got a research director, Kat Wyan, who we brought in to help us, push that even further. But yeah, that's been quite a change in my role over the last few years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it definitely sounds like you're doing some really cool things, particularly around that research stuff. You also mentioned, John Williams and, working alongside of him. When did you first meet John?
Well, I first met John when I was working at Dell, so sort of early to the mid 2000s. The guy who recruited me into Dell, a guy called Martin Smith, who runs a bid company called Bid Solutions these days. He's a good friend of mine. Martin recruited me, and Martin wanted to run a training program internally at Dell. There'd been no training for bid and proposal people really before then, and he wanted to instill some APMP training and then bring in industry experts to train us. And he knew John, so he brought John and Richard Jenkins in to train us. So we had several one-day training sessions over a couple of years. So just to try and align us all, so we're all on the same page, and instill some deeper sort of best practice into what we were doing. So I met John then, and then of course I saw John speaking at various APMP events over the years. You know, huge respect for him, and of course because that connection was made, I started to talk to him eventually about maybe joining him and Richard at the right time, and I know the rest is history. Really, I've been working with him since then. So yeah, it was a good while ago that I came across John and got to know him.
Oh yeah, definitely. When did you join APMP as a member?
That would have been back at the in the sort of mid 2000s when I was at Dell. So it was a way to sort of formalize. It would be when I was taking my foundation. We would have joined at the same time as that. So you know, 15 years ago, something like that. And I've stayed, you know, tried to stay as involved as I can be with the APMP since then. I think it's hugely important body for our industry. It sets the standards and is doing some amazing things for the industry. So yeah, I've always been a huge supporter and tried to get involved as much as I can. Right since those early days when back in the early 2000s, when I could see the value of it and was introduced to it by Martin Smith when I was at Dell.
Oh, definitely. APMP is such a great organization, and you know it's grown so much. You know, since you originally joined in the early or the mid 2000s, you've gone on to get the highest level of certification as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your certification journey?
Yeah, of course. I remember getting my foundation. That a few of us from Dell had a session with Kathy Day. I remember it very well, where she took us through the syllabus, and we took our exam at the end of it. And probably like most people, when you started to go on a learning journey like this, a certification journey, you hadn't taken an exam for years. So at the time it was really quite nerve-wracking. And I was really worried about passing, and we were all really worried about it. I remember afterwards all talking about it, going, blimey, that was quite tough, wasn't it? How did we get on? I don't know. You know, and there's kind of this nervousness, and then of course you pass and you get this. Oh, I was always going to pass that. Of course, it was easy, you know. But so I really enjoyed that experience. But I think then moving on to practitioner. So the scheme's changed recently. But a few years later, I decided I've got to get on and do my practitioner, and it was a significant undertaking to do that. And I likened it to I enjoyed it, but it took quite a long time. I likened it to almost like writing my bid and proposal memoirs, because in trying to explain how I was experienced in all of the different competencies there. I tried to think of different examples from my career to date on where I'd helped write an executive summary or run a review workshop or done this and that and the other. But I tried to write it from lots of different perspectives, and I found that really quite a nice thing to do when you really start to think back of all the different people you've met and the different bids you've worked on. So it also highlights where you've got areas of weakness as well. So I really enjoyed going through the practitioner process. And then the professional level, I remember I was probably one of the youngest people at the time to get through to get professional, to go through the sort of formal process. And I remember I was over in the States. I think I've been over to a number of the conferences over the years, but I think it was in Arizona, and having my interview with Charlie Devine at the time, a while ago now, and having a really good, really enjoying presenting the. It was on knowledge bases actually, so presenting my thoughts on methodology for implementing knowledge bases. Really enjoyed that. Had a really good debate with him. Such a lovely guy who did so much for the profession, and I think he was more excited than me when I passed that. To be honest, I mean, he was so enthusiastic about the scheme, and I remember getting that and walking out of the room. And the conference is going on. So I remember walking down the sort of exhibitor hall thinking, in my mind, I'd probably been sort of kidding myself that, don't get too stressed about it. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay. It's not such a big thing, just so I didn't get too nervous. And then when I came out of it, I felt really, really proud and really, energized by getting it. Okay, relieved as well, right? I didn't want to not get it. But I remember having a really strong feeling that, that not many people have got to that level, and just extremely happy to have got that. So I remember that moment really well. I'll never forget sort of going through the process with Charlie as well. And of course now I'm able to take people through the process myself. So I'm an approved trainer, and train a lot of people on general proposal stuff, but also on the certification side of things, including most recently on the new capture practitioner certification, which I'm so excited about. And everybody's talking about it, everybody's buzzing about it. It's something new from APMP. I think is a great opportunity to try and get people who have maybe got more focus on the sales and BD side come and get some formal qualifications with the APMP. I think it's a really, really clever move. I'm really excited about it. We've just been setting up all of our training for it and making sure we're going to deliver some really strong training about it. So I'm so excited about the opportunity to go and train people on capture now. So I've hopefully can instill a bit of the sort of passion and the level of enthusiasm that the people who helped me get through the process did, and helping people get through it. I think that's really rewarding part of my job and what I do.
All right, so I think we're ready for our surprise rapid fire questions round.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Graham. That was amazing, Graham. Graham, in addition to fencing, you also play competitive tennis, and you're also a rugby coach, Graham. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I love my tennis. In fact, when I finished doing fencing competitively, I just couldn't cope with the amount of training you have to do and work. When I finally decided to really knuckle down with work, I needed something else, and tennis was something I've always loved playing for fun. And now I play as much as I can. I really enjoy it and compete a bit with that as well. And rugby is my passion as well. So my eldest, my son plays rugby, and I thought, well, why not get involved and do a bit of coaching? So I wouldn't say my rugby coaching is particularly good, but I really love doing it, and I love kind of helping the kids and trying to get them interested in the sport and stay with the sport. So it's also a passion of mine.
Yes, I think that's amazing. I recently started rugby myself, so fingers get there. And living in Twickenham, I'm sure you see thousands of people flocking in good old times when the stadiums were open for all the things there. So that might meant Twickenham Stadium next to you. When was the first time you actually saw rugby there Graham?
Yeah, I mean, my dad's a big rugby fan as well. So I would have been a big Leicester Tigers fan because we live near Leicester, and my dad brought me down to watch Tigers play in the sort of cup finals in the past. So it probably was, I don't know the year, but I was a young kid when I first would have gone to Twickenham, and also even younger when I would have gone to see Leicester play at the Tigers Stadium. So I played it when I was a kid as well for a bit. So it's always been in my blood. But I really love going to Twickenham to watch the internationals. I mean, it's hard to get tickets and it's expensive, but I just go whenever I can, and got a lot of rugby friends who love going. It's always a really good fun occasion.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant, Graham. I always tell people about rugby. Lawrence Dialogio, he used to work in Serco for a few years.
Oh, right.
And then Lawrence used to be my colleague. We used to be on the same team. And I didn't have any understanding of who Lawrence was, but I know when he comes in, there is this aura.
Yeah.
One day he said, do you want to join me for a rugby thing? I just went. And the moment we entered Twickenham, my first experience in Twickenham was with Lawrence.
Wow.
And then
he's a huge man, isn't he? He's got a big presence anyway, but physically, I mean, he's a huge man. I've walked past him a few times, and he's immense. Yeah, amazing guy. Won the World Cup.
Exactly. Yeah, I always make fun of him, even if I had both my hands and the fingers together. It's still small. But anyway,
yeah,
that's it. So okay, let's go into the rapid fire questions then. Who is your favorite sports person?
Favorite sports person at the moment, I love. We've got a young up and coming rugby player at Harlequins, which is my local sort of Premiership club in Twickenham, and his name is Marcus Smith. Young guy, who I think is just absolutely fantastic. He's going to be the next big thing. So I quite often like looking at the up and coming people. So I think from a exciting, thrilling player, somebody to watch, it's got to be him. But then of course from a sports legend perspective, I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix recently, and wouldn't have necessarily been the biggest follower of basketball, but I mean, that guy his level of competitiveness and his will and his drive is out of this world. So he's become, just through watching the series, one of my favorite sports stars. A real legend, really. I mean, absolutely fantastic guy. Ruthless but successful over such a long period. It was just so impressive. So he'd be right up there.
Oh, that's brilliant. Do you have nicknames?
Some people call me Abo, sort of Ablett for short. Some really cheeky people would call me Giblets. Martin Smith, he sort of coined that. So those annoying nicknames that nobody's going to call me, of course, after this. But yeah, a few little nicknames there.
That's good.
I was called Tablet as well at school, a little bit as well, of course, with my surname.
Okay, that's forward thinking. Tablets in 1980s. That's great.
Yes.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate. I'm a big chocolate fan, so I have to be chocolate.
What's the most beautiful place you've ever been?
That's a tough one. I went to Machu Picchu. I thought Machu Picchu in Peru was breathtaking. So I'd probably say Machu Picchu.
Do you ever talk to yourself? If so, what do you say to yourself?
I do talk to myself quite a lot. I sometimes find myself, particularly in lockdown, going upstairs and then asking myself, what was it I just came up the stairs to do? Not because I'm going senile. I just think because I've been inside the house so much, I'm kind of having to remind myself of sometimes what I'm doing, because I think when I'm thinking, I normally do quite a lot of walking and wandering around, so I could find myself in part of the house, and then I just sort of asking myself, how did I get here? What am I doing in here? But yeah. So what am I doing is probably the thing I'm asking myself most often.
I think 3 months into lockdown, I think we all are asking ourselves every single day, Graham.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I'm supposed to do something. I know. So I know that's great. On a scale of 1 to 10, how strict are you as a parent?
If 10 is extremely strict, I rule our household with a rod of iron. So I'd say I'm about a 2. I'm not the one to do the discipline. That's my wife, Hillary. She's the one doing the discipline. Yeah, I'm not good at that. I'm the fun one.
So name a product or a service you love so much that you will happily be that company spokesman.
Blimey, that's a good question. I think the thing that I use an awful lot is Spotify. I like my music a lot. I like to have music on, and Spotify is the way I listen to things. And so that is one of the products that I really use all the time. I love it. And would I be their spokesperson? I don't know, but because I love it and use it so much and find it so useful, I guess it would be Spotify.
What trait do you like the most about yourself?
I'm quite determined. So if I'm going to do something and I commit to it, I will deliver it. So I'm quite determined, even in adversity, to get something done. So yeah, I think that's one of my best traits: getting something done well in a short amount of time, in a sort of that needs a lot of determination to get there. That's probably one of the traits that I like.
What's the naughtiest thing you have done in school?
Oh, blimey. What is the naughtiest thing I did in school? I once made part of an English project. We had to make a video, and we basically made it. It was a bit of a joke about our English teacher, and he had quite strange hair that we all always joked about, that we thought it was a wig. And I remember having a wig in the video that we then had to play to him. So that was certainly very cheeky. And he actually thought it was very funny, actually, which was quite good. But I think that would be up there in terms of the sort of naughty things I've done. Well, the things that I would share with you in this forum anyway.
That's nice. One or two logical questions, Graham. I just want to pick your brains on. Why does the grapefruit look and taste nothing like a grape?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know. What a question. I've never even thought of it like that. I don't know, just to keep things interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, because English is not my first language, right? So when I actually try to learn the fruits in a different language, I always wondered these things. Why is it's called grapefruit, but it's not grape, right? It should be, there is a fruit called grape anyway. So
yeah. I don't know, but probably just to keep people confused.
Ah,
I don't know. Good
maybe,
question.
maybe one more on the same angle. Why do round pizzas come in square boxes?
I'd say the people who own shares in the pizzas have also got shares in the cardboard. Maybe one reason, and secondly, I imagine it's something boring, like it's easier to make it square. Would be probably the logical answer.
Got you, Graham. Got you. That's a good one. Who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
Well, certainly Mr. Williams, John Williams. I mean, I wouldn't have joined Strategic Proposals if I wasn't so impressed with John's passion and that sort of energy for proposals. So he's given me that sort of passion. Well, I had it anyway, but I mean, the like-mindedness of that. And also his sort of knowledge on the subject, and so jealous of his insights into the procurement side of things as well. So John's been a huge influence on my career and my learning. And then Martin Smith, who helped get me into Dell and then introduced me to John and Strategic Proposals, and helped me on my first steps of my certification sort of path as well. They would be guys that have really helped me. Steve Mullins, a guru of procurement, he gave me loads of insights as well when he was working with Strategic Proposals and a bit of business advice and guidance as well. So Steve, from that perspective. Outside of business, my dad has been giving me the confidence, I think, to make some big changes in my life, like stepping out of a nice big corporate job at Dell and moving to a small tiny consultancy called Strategic Proposals. He worked for himself and always kind of gave me that confidence to, if you really believe in something, to make those decisions. And he showed me that he could do that in the past, and to make those brave decisions. So he'd be a strong influence on the way my career's kind of panned out over time. Definitely. And actually also my wife, Hillary, if there was, I remember within the space of a year, we bought our first house together. We got married, and we and I changed jobs. So joined Strategic Proposals. So three huge things that really, if she didn't give me the sort of confidence and the didn't believe in me, that I could imagine I wouldn't have joined Strategic Proposals, which could be seen as a risky move. I wouldn't have done that, and I wouldn't be where I am today. So yeah, some business people there who've kind of inspired me and influenced me, and then some sort of people in my personal life that have helped me along the way.
Wow, that's beautiful. What's the biggest lesson life has taught you?
Well, I mentioned earlier that unfortunately people don't do the things you want them to do when you need them to do it. I think maybe I kind of knew that, and then I had kids, and then I definitely realized that now. So realizing that you shouldn't get frustrated by the fact that people won't do things unless you explain things to them properly and sort of coach them and maybe coax them a bit along the way. So I mean that is a huge learning, that you can't just expect people will follow you or do what you need them to do when you need them to do it. So that's been a huge learning that working in proposals has helped me with. I think also, thanks to the folks who've guided me, I think trying to, in my early career and especially early days at Strategic Proposals, where I started to put myself out on LinkedIn with comments and things, and standing up at conferences and talking about topics and subjects. I think I think to start with, I was struggling to sort of think about who I was trying to be. And a few people have told me that, you really just got to be yourself. Find your own style, your own way of presenting things, your own way of doing things. So find your own style, and don't try and be somebody that you're not, or don't try and do something that somebody you like is doing well. Find your own way of doing that same thing. So find your own style and your own path. I think is an important thing that life has taught me, and people have taught me over the years. And then you've got to have fun while you're doing it. If you don't find it fun, you don't find it interesting and engaging, then maybe think about not doing it. I think to be successful in something, you've got to have passion for it. You've got to enjoy doing it. It might be hard work, but if you're not enjoying it and having fun out of it, then maybe you're in the wrong job. That's another really important lesson I've learned over the years.
Wow, those are really, really, really powerful lessons there, Graham. So what have you observed lately that reminded you that people are good?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I'll share this. We had obviously lots of people are going through sort of tough times at the moment with the pandemic and the virus. We tragically, my father-in-law passed away back on over Easter, which was a real shame. He had such a fantastic guy, and it gave me lots of advice over the many years that I've known him. Real kind of mentor, but lovely person as well. Such a, you couldn't want for a better sort of a better father-in-law. And what was tragic about it is of course we couldn't go to Ireland to the funeral, so we had to watch it on a webcam. I mean, how sort of unhuman is that? How unfair is that? A horrible situation to go through. But what's helped us with all of that is just the amazing, just the notes from people, the letters, the little presents, the calls with people, the family Zoom calls, everybody's coming together. Just this fantastic sense of all the kind of the love that we've had, despite kind of as being so disconnected from people physically. This kind of virtual love that we've felt from family and friends from all over the place has just been, been a fantastic boost in a time where it's a horrible thing to go through, made doubly horrible by the situation we're in, and just made manageable by having this sort of these fantastic sort of shows of affection and empathy from our friends and family. So that's been a real, with however tough things are, if you've got that kind of foundation there, those good friends and that close family, that can get you through a lot, right?
So we're down to kind of our final 3 questions. We've learned so much about kind of your personality, your career. It's been brilliant learning about these things today. Looking back, is there one thing that you wish you had known when you started out and began your career?
Yeah, I think some of those would be in the learnings bit. So definitely sort of sticking with what you're passionate about, recognizing that, working out what that is, earlier. But I think actually just understanding that things change and you need to adapt to change over time. So of course you've got to have a plan and a goal and a target. All these things. It's really important to have those things, because that helps with motivation, getting you out of bed in the morning and driving you on. But you've got to accept that sometimes things happen that are outside of your control that will mean you maybe can't achieve all of these goals or targets. And I think in my early career, it would have really frustrated me, the fact that if I set myself a goal and I didn't achieve it, that would make me feel really down. So I think just having a bit of an understanding that just stuff happens, and actually you need to be able to sort of re-evaluate and adjust what you're doing as you go. And life's probably more about making these sort of small adjustments as you go, and not beating yourself up or getting too down on if things change and you can't quite get to where you thought you wanted to get to by a certain point. So just having that kind of being safe in the knowledge that that's the way life is. I think that would have been, if I could have told myself that years ago, I probably would have saved me some angst and frustration along the way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And I think younger listeners can definitely take something away from that and, use that understanding to maybe help them as they pursue their career and be able to adjust to those little changes and not let them get them down, as you say. On a similar vein, what advice would you give to, some of those younger professionals out there, greener professionals wanting to pursue, a successful proposal career, maybe something similar to what you've done?
I think you've always got to be looking for some from every proposal that you work on. Reflect back on how it went and identify the really good things that happened. Could be lots of things, or just one thing. Think about what didn't go so well and how you could improve that next time. And the next one you work on, you're not going to wave a magic wand and be perfect, but just do one thing on your next bid or proposal, to do one thing better or different than you did on the one before. Try and keep it more interesting for you by doing that, and just keep trying these new and different things as you go, whether it's the way you're working with people, whether it's the way you're presenting information, the way you're writing something, whatever that is. Just keep trying new things, and you'll improve improve your skills and your knowledge and your experience as you go, just from one proposal to the next. So I'll just keep trying those things as you go, and that will work wonders. And then just keep sharpening the saw. Keep up with the best practices out there. There's loads of webinars with loads of great material out there at the moment. Keep watching all of those things to spark ideas, but then just try them, apply them, and learn from them bid to bid.
Oh, that's really great advice. And there are so many resources out there for, individuals to continue to learn and continue to try to apply those best practices or new tricks and things like that from those different resources. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Graham. So we have learned so much about your life and your career and all of your achievements so far. It's been such a great talk today. We're curious, what's next for you? What are you looking forward to in the future?
Well, I think shorter term, I feel like we're coming out of the pandemic at the moment, and I'm hoping that we don't slip back into a second peak. And if we're looking forward, what I'm really excited about is coming out of lockdown, and our customers are going to want maybe different types of services, different ways in which we could perhaps help them to be successful coming out of this really sort of this place we've not been in before. So what I'm excited about is in the shorter term is working out ways in which we can maximize the help we can give to people to help them, get back on track and get out of the lockdown, firing on all cylinders. So, that's a priority for us as a business at the moment. And then we've got our capture practitioner stuff coming out. I'm so excited about getting that out there and starting to coach people on that and train people on that and get them through that certification. Another kind of learning thing. We've got a new tool coming out, My Proposal Coach, which is going to be free of charge. Another resource for people to use that just helps people assess where their skills are at. Be online, a little application we've developed. It's going to be launched pretty soon as well. So really looking forward to seeing how that goes down with the industry, and hopefully getting some feedback from people on, how helpful that's been to help them sort of sharpen their skills and work out where they are, and work out sort of development plans. So it's all a bit short-termist, that, but I feel like you can't look too far ahead at the moment, because who knows what's going to happen. But they're the things that are on my plate, sort of to do next, really. Get all those things up and running.
Graham, thank you so much for your time today, Graham. It's really been a privilege to have you with us at the first season of Scribble Talk. Wish you all the good health and happiness. Please do give regards to your family, your extended family, and everybody around in strategic proposals. And please continue to inspire bid and proposal industry colleagues and everybody around you. Stay happy, stay healthy, and keep inspiring, Graham. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure, guys. I really enjoyed it. Really great to speak to you, and keep up. Keep this up. I mean, there's some brilliant brilliant webinars and podcasts to listen to. So I've really enjoyed these, and I'm just delighted to be part of it. So thank you, and keep it up.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode, where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundaram,
signing off.